Now, I did a survey one year, had a graduate that wanted to start a business, a lawn irrigation business in Bellingham, Washington. And my first thought was, you're going to have a heck of a hard time starting up a business in Bellingham, Washington. And he says, well, I've been over there. I was just over there, and he says everybody has dried up lawns. And so he said, hey, I want you to go with me. And so we drove over there. It was in August. We drove around Bellingham, and it was like 90% of the lawns were yellow. And he said, obviously there's a huge demand for lawn irrigation systems in Bellingham, Washington. I said, well, it certainly appears that way. So we went around and we talked to a number of contractors. And they said, no, we don't put in irrigation. Nobody wants it. So, well, what about all the yellow lawns? Well, everybody expects it. See, it's a mindset. Well, how about the 10% that aren't yellow? Well, those are people who moved up from California, and they don't want to ever have a yellow lawn, but all the natives, they don't care. It's what we expect. Okay, now this was about 10 or 15 years ago. So he said, hey, I got to believe there's enough native Californians moving up to Washington, and then as the neighborhood sees these really nice lawns, they will want to do the same thing. And so he went ahead and started a business in Bellingham. After a year, he was bankrupt because the natives didn't care. They didn't care if the lawns went yellow. That's what it's supposed to do in Bellingham, Washington in the summer, was the attitude. That was the mindset 15 years ago. Now, and it was just about 15 years ago. So I don't know if that's still the mindset in Bellingham, Washington. My guess is there's more and more irrigation systems going in all the time. But at that point in the maturity of this industry, it hadn't sunk in yet that it was important to those people. They just accepted the fact that it was going to be brown for a month or two. You out to the golf course, one of the golf courses in the area, the roughs, they just let them go. Maybe parts of the fairways were watered, maybe parts weren't. I was at a town on the west side of the state just this summer and played golf. I won't say where it was. And they just never watered the fairways. They watered the greens only. And that was totally acceptable. Paid $25 to go out and play a course that was just a brownout. And the greens were green. Everything else was brown. Now I tell you, the ball rolls a long way. So you feel like Superman when you're out there playing. But I just couldn't believe. They just said, we're not going to spend the money. We'll still take your money. You know, they wanted a pretty decent amount of green fees to go play that course, and it was absolutely browned out. And that's just the way it is. They don't intend to put a sprinkler system on that course. So for 10 months out of the year, it's fine. The other 2 months, they just deal with it. And as long as that's the mindset, then that's what happens. That's an old established course. Brand new golf courses, that isn't what happens. They go in and put in the system, and it's all ready to go, and it's neat and pretty. Now someday this municipal course will probably get enough heat from the locals after they go around and play on nice green courses that are green 12 months out of the year, that they'll probably end up putting a sprinkler system on that course. And that'll be a good irrigation job for maybe some people in the class here. But at this point, there still is the mentality in turf in some parts of the country that it's okay for it to go brown in the summer. Now, on the east side of the state of Washington and Oregon, everybody waters their lawns. Well, not everybody, but everybody would like to keep their lawns green because everything else is dry, and we'd like to see some green patches. You know, on the west side, everything else is green. They don't mind seeing a little brown once in a while because it's a change of color for them. You know, it's just, I guess it's all in the mental state of where you're at. But we really like green lawns over here in this arid country, and so it's very much the norm for new construction to put in irrigation systems. So a little sidelight to turf and some of the effects that you will run into.